What's going on YouTube? This is Rybo at the bench, and today I have another cut or carry knife review for you today, looking at the Benchmade 940, very popular Benchmade model that I've finally had a chance to take a look at and review. So I've been carrying this for a few weeks and have some thoughts. Let's get into it. So let's do our baseline measurements. I do not have my scale handy right now, but I believe this comes in at right under 3 ounces, something like 2.9, 2.8 ounces, something like that. This is the G10 version of the 940. So the 940 has lots of different variants. So this is the 940-2, which is the reverse Tonto blade, which is super nice, S30V, G10, which is great. And this is, I think, all stock except for the pocket clip, which can be requested from Benchmade. The one that I believe comes on this does not have the deep carry fold over, but they send this out if you request it. All right, so like I said, under 3 ounces, sorry. For that, you're getting 3.31 inches, which is great, and in the pocket, 4.46. The width of this guy at the widest point, a little over 1 inch, and really under 1 inch across the whole knife. Thickness is going to be fairly thin, so 0.44, so well under ½ an inch, which is awesome. Size comparison, so let's keep it in the Benchmade family real quick. So the bug out, and then we'll do, we'll do Spidey Chef, and we'll do one of the head-to-head videos that I filmed recently, the Capara. So you can see it is a, not a small knife, but it is a very thin knife. You're getting a lot of blade for a very thin package, which is really awesome. All right, so things that I like about the Benchmade 940, and I'm going to keep wanting to call this the bug out for some reason. First of all, the axis lock. I like the axis lock. Some people hate it. Some people love it. I really like it. I think it's very functional, very practical, very fidgety, which is obviously something that everybody likes. I know there's issues with this back pin right here, but mine has not had any issues, obviously not long-term wear on it, but I really like the locking mechanism. I think for what I would use this knife for, it would hold up just fine. Other things that I like the G10 version over the aluminum. I like how it wears, although I'll have some issues with the G10 just a little bit. I do like that it has the G10 option. I also like the ergonomics. I think that the knife feels very good in the hand. You have this kind of hilt up here, but you have a contoured handle, which I think looks really nice aesthetically. This thing reminds me of kind of a classic steak knife. I don't know if you had these kind of steak knives growing up, but I used to have ones that had this kind of same contouring, so that's kind of what this always reminds me of. But just very practical, very functional. It has some nice jimping up here, not too aggressive, but something to grab onto, and some under here as well. Very similar with like the mini grip, where I think the jimping is just very, very well done. It's not too much, but it is enough to kind of give you purchase on the knife, which I really, really like. I also really like the deep carry clip. I have not tried the stock clip on this, but I really like this one, so I would definitely recommend trying to get this one if you can. I may like this one more than the Spyderco clip. I think there's just plenty of room under there. It's the right amount of spring tension. Granted, it's up against this very smooth G10, so you're not going to have really any issues getting it in and out of the pocket. That may change based on the aluminum. Not sure. I know that the aluminum is a little bit more textured or kind of has this, I don't know, more of a matte finish. So, take that for what it's worth. I like that you can reverse the pocket clip left or right, which is nice. I think that this is the correct orientation to keep the knife, so I don't really care that you can't carry it tip down. The blade is nice. I do have some gripes with it, but I think the blade is nicely done. It fits with the overall kind of, I call it the ethos of the knife, kind of what this knife is intending to be, giving you a ton of blade in a very small package. So while you do have a very thin blade here, I think it's a very practical, useful blade. You have this very nice grind all the way across. I love the reverse Tonto. I think it's a fantastic blade option. Definitely something I like. I do not like Tonto blades. I love reverse Tontos. So I think that is very nice. You have this nice swedge up here that tapers not only down this way, but also tapers back, which is really nice, at least visually. Takes away some of the weight of the blade, but you still have a very strong spine towards the tip, which I think is very, very practical. Really, really nice thought there. And then overall, I think the blade just looks fairly nice. While it's not my absolute favorite blade style, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, I do like it. I think that it looks really, really nice. Other things that I like, the action is really good, very, very smooth. I think it just flies open very reliably, and that's a great thing. Other things that I like about the knife, overall, just a very efficient knife. So oddly enough, I'm not going to do a head-to-head on these, but like these two knives remind me of each other a lot, and they look nothing alike. These are total opposites in a lot of ways, but in a weird way, they remind me of each other because both of these knives are basically trying to get you as much knife as they can get you in a very small, lightweight package. So under 3 ounces, I think for both of these, you're getting a lot of blade, obviously more with the bug out here, with the 940 here than you are with the chaparral. But with the chaparral, you're getting a little bit wider blade, maybe better for some slicing tasks. In both of these, you have a very, very lightweight package, very ergonomic, a great carry option. And with the 940 here, you're just getting a ton of blade, and it fits very, very slimly in the pocket. I mean, obviously, honestly, this thing is... This thing is probably one of the best knives for actual in-the-pocket carry because it is so thin and tapered, lightweight. It just absolutely disappears, and that's a really awesome thing. I think there's a reason that this knife has become a staple in the knife community. Everybody's got one, and it is very useful for just kind of practical, everyday needs. So that's really awesome. I think that's about it for the things that I like about the knife. I mean, all in all, it's just very solid. It's very utilitarian, and I tend to like that. I really like things that are designed for actual use. Not so much into art knives or not so much into kind of niche specialty knives as much. I love things that can actually be used and abused, and this is absolutely one of those. Okay, things that I don't like. So number one, the price. So Benchmade's just really annoy me with the price. I mean, secondary market, I think you get a much better deal. I did not pay retail for this, obviously. Now, with that, you're kind of paying Benchmade tax because you can send it in, lifetime guarantee, replace the blade, fix it up, all that. That's a fantastic thing, and that can't really... I don't know if you can really put a price on that because that's going to depend on how much you're going to use the knife, if it's going to be in your collection for a long time. If I was buying this knife to use over the next 10 years, I think the price is spot on because you can always send that stuff back in. However, for me, I fly through knives. This may not stay in the collection, and so for me, it's a little bit pricey at retail, and secondary market is okay. Things that I don't like. So as much as I like the G10, I was very surprised to get this in the hand and find out that it is not grippy at all. I mean, this is super, super smooth. It looks very grippy. It looks like it would be perfect, but it is not. I have no idea why they wouldn't do that. This knife would be so much more functional to me if it wasn't so slick. I mean, what's the point to me of having G10 unless you have some grippiness there? So that was something I was really, really disappointed in. Other things that I don't like, this depends on kind of what model, what color, what run you get, but this is absolutely ridiculous choice of color for the back spacers here, for these back pins. This kind of alien green, there is definitely a type of person this appeals to, and if that's you, fantastic, but this is not everybody. I just do not understand this. If you like it, that's great, but why in the world would this come production? Such a weird choice that kind of turned me off from the knife from the get-go. And I just wish it had come with, steel color or black, something like that, and then, have the option to purchase additional ones to kind of customize it however you'd like it. But to me, that just has absolutely no place on this knife, does not make sense straight from the factory. Other things that I don't like, I guess the other biggest thing is just the blade play, I guess. There's a couple things going into this, but one of the issues with the Axis lock tends to be if you get it so that it's drop shutty, you have a tendency to have some blade play, and especially with this kind of blade, this is going to be a problem because you have this very long, thin blade. You don't have much counterbalance to that blade inside of the handle. whereas you can see on the bug out, you have a little bit more counterbalance. And then if you look at like the Capara, I made this reference in the head-to-head, you have more kind of counterbalance of the blade into the handle. And to me, that just helps keep the blade play down. I have not been able to get this knife drop shutty without having some blade play. And even when I've tightened up the pivot and allowed it not to be drop shutty, where to have to do kind of one of these, it loosens up over time, and it turns out that there's play in the blade, which is not great. I mean, yes, I could do Loctite and that kind of thing, but the fact that I have to do that out of the box is a little bit disappointing to me. Something like the bug out, I have not had the same issues with. Some of the Spydercos have never really had any of the blade play issues, so that's kind of disappointing to me, and has honestly been probably my biggest turnoff from the knife, because other than that, I really, really like this knife. The blade shape is not my favorite. I prefer bigger bellied blades. I like flat grinds. I like stuff that's got a little bit more substance to it, especially if I'm going to be prying with this and doing kind of heavy tasks. I think I mentioned that pretty much in every way I like the Capara better than this for a lot of those reasons. Bigger blade, flat grind, better lock system, I think. No blade play. So, I mean, all in all, cut or carry, I would say I give this a carry recommendation. I mean, I fly through knives. I buy and sell all the time. This is probably not going to stay in my collection. It was in my collection a little while, but honestly, I love the bug out. And the bug out has pretty much replaced this, and then trying out the Capara has kind of showed me the 940 doesn't really have a place in my collection long term. However, I think it's an excellent knife. If you can get it for a good price, I think it's a very good knife. I think it's earned the reputation for a reason. I think for the right person, the right application, this is a very good knife. I would just encourage you, try to get hands on it maybe before you purchase, or the option to send it back, because these blade play issues I've heard kind of vary from model to model. Some people don't have issues with them. This one, I've had a terrible time trying to get it tuned up correctly. So just pay attention to that, and also maybe buy some aftermarket back pins there. But all in all, carry, I think it's a very good knife. I would recommend it definitely to somebody, depending on kind of what your needs are. But for me and my collection, it's probably going to move on. There's just other knives that I'd prefer to have in its place, and it's tying up money that I could use to review other knives. All right, so that's it. Hope you've enjoyed this review, and I'll see you next time.